Welcome back to those who've been hanging with me some time, and welcome to those of you who are new to my channel. I'm Adele Levine, intuitive and medium. All right, so before we get started on the subject, which will be a fun subject today, I just wanted to announce that I have 3 new episodes on my new podcast, Peering into the Narrow Room, Expanding the Spirit and Mind. You can see here, I'm very excited. I had my first guest, and you should check that out as soon as you can. My guest is Amy Lynn Chadwick. She is an actress and a singer. She's super awesome. I think you'll enjoy this one. And I just want to say thank you. I do think of you, and thank you for those of you who have reached out and have followed and subscribed on my new podcast. And those of you who have posted reviews and likes, not really, I guess it's reviews. That's what I'm going for. Thank you so much. I just so appreciate it. All right, let's get to the subject at hand. All right, beforehand, here is the mug of choice today. Kind of purposeful. It is not the subject at hand, but it is a little connected, because Peering into the Narrow Room, which is the name of my book, and the podcast is kind of a take on going down the rabbit hole. And it's kind of the other idea to me of stepping into the narrow room. But the subject at hand that's connected is really about haunted houses and what is really going on there. It just reminded me of it because, Disneyland, the Mad Hatter ride, I don't know, my brain just kind of went to all that. The teacups at Disneyland, spinning around. Anybody who has been there, you know what I'm talking about, or you've seen it. And I think my brain just went do because I wanted to talk about the Haunted Mansion. The reason I wanted to talk about the Haunted Mansion is because I think the ride, the Haunted Mansion, is a perfect depiction of how people view haunted houses. Now, first of all, I'll just say that is one of my favorite rides. When I was a little kid, I was terrified of it, but I loved it. Does, that makes sense? What I mean by that is, what my favorite part was when they were dancing in the dining room, when you see the spirits dancing in the dining room. And being a kid who did see spirits and did see things, it's kind of that double-edged sword of you completely are terrified and why am I looking at this? And you want to look away, but at the same time being completely drawn in. And so I felt that way as a kid. I never wanted to cut off that part of me that saw that world and saw things. In a weird way, it kind of was like this window or this door that I always wanted to keep open. And I'm saying that because I feel that's what happens a lot of the times when people think places are haunted. Now, I know there's tons of shows and there's tons of things. There's spirit boxes and there's shows on let's catch, spirits in these houses and everything. And, let's make them talk. Now, here's my take on it. I have done another video before on about the truth about hauntings and stuff, but I wanted specifically to do one about haunted houses. And is it something that's happening, or how can you tell? Is this something happening to me? Is it happening in my home? Because honestly, it's a very, very popular question. It's also something people think is happening much more than it is. Sorry to disappoint. And let me explain why. One of the reasons why is because in the spirit world, they're looking for people who are open to them, who are listening to them. They're always willing to talk. So I always say this, there is like this sphere. Well, we are the sphere or an onion, and we're one layer and there's an outer layer, and that is the other realm. And they are part of our world. Much like I've said this before, like the ocean is a part of our earth, but it's a whole different world in a world. Or someone has said to me recently, a spirit actually in a reading, described that they felt like they were on Mars, which meant they're in this world, in our dimension, in our universe, but on a different planet. And I thought that was an awesome way of putting it too. And the reason why I point that out is because people think spirits are attached to things and places and people. And I'm going to disappoint you and tell you They are not. They are not. We're attached to places, things, and people. The spirit world is, yes, it's these other worlds. Yes, it's like being on Mars and the ocean, but it is not like this world at all, in the sense of there is no need to feel attached to a place, because you're now released from time and space. If you want to know more about what that realm is like, I have a ton of other videos. What's life after death, all kinds of things, what is life, what happens us after we die, and all kinds of other videos that gets detailed into that. However, what I'm talking about is trying to open up your mind to the idea that if you are comparing this world to that world, you're always going to miss the mark. So the idea that a spirit has to sit in the home, and as much as I love Beetlejuice, and I'm hoping Beetlejuice is over here somewhere, and I love that movie. And as much as we love the concept that there's these spirits living in the attic and all this kind of stuff, there are some things that they kind of get right in the movie where they're trying to be in the same realm with the people. But I think the thing that's a little different is they're making it seem like they're so attached to the house. They do kind of get into the fact that they are attached to the house because they don't realize they're dead. And that is where I'm going to lead to. So is it true that there are spirits that don't realize that they're dead? Yes, those are called ghosts to me. This is what I've come to understand. So spirits that don't realize they have died are ghosts. They're ghosts of themselves. And ghosts of themselves is kind of similar to this world, where we as people can be a ghost of ourselves. What I mean by that is you've seen people who are walking around and they're, you even might know someone who's like, wow, they're really a ghost of the person they used to be. So that means their essence, is missing, and they're kind of like off somewhere else. They're missing a piece of themselves. And that is what happens to spirits who don't realize they passed. They're not lost. They're not, someone you have to be scared of. They're really just not realizing. They're almost like traumatized. How about if that makes sense? So it's not every single person who gets murdered. It's not every single person who dies suddenly. It's not every single time. But sometimes someone is traumatized or doesn't want to face the fact that they died, and they're just looping time. And so if it happened in that house, in that space, could that happen? Yes, but not all spirits in a haunted place are the spirits that, or the people who, when they were alive, have any connection to that house at all. Here's why. When the dead is trying to talk to us, which is pretty much all the time they're willing to talk and willing to engage with you, and you finally are open and willing to do it, it's like, let's pounce. There's a reason, as a medium, the way I operate is you tell me who you want to talk to by the connection to you, how you're related to that person, and I will connect you to that person. I do this on purpose because I don't need all of them talking to me at once. So it's because they all want to talk. So yes, what happens is everybody kind of throws out to the rest of the other spirit world, or it's not really necessary. It becomes known. Everybody goes to this house and everyone starts talking to the dead. They're aware. The same thing happens at cemeteries. I can do a whole video on cemeteries. Leave in the comments below if you want me to do that, but also leave in the comments below if you think you've experienced hauntings in your house. And after or before, maybe check this video out and maybe it will help you, meaning keep watching this video and maybe it'll help you understand. The other thing is, real quick, I want to cover, because this is important. This is very important. You've got to eliminate practicality. Be grounded, guys. Be logical. So not every little flicker of the light, not every bang in the night, not every weird thing that happens is something paranormal. It can be like a logical explanation due to electronics or electricity, or maybe you didn't realize somebody had left something open. You got to go through all the logical, and believe me, you'll know inside as well. What I mean by that is sometime at some point you're like, I went through all the logical data, I went through everything, but something in me goes, I can't really explain this. So come from a grounded place. Don't go looking for finding things that are going to prove your place is haunted. I almost feel, by the way, that most people want their places to be haunted. And I can tell you from all the cleansings I've done, and I have done many, and you can let me know if you want me to do a video on that, about different house cleansings I've done. I have done many, but not as many as you might think in the long career of me doing this. It's actually a handful, maybe a handful and a half of houses, because it's rare that it's really happening in this kind of way. So what I'm saying is, what I do when I do them is I talk to a person first. I let them go through with me the things that are happening. So here's a couple things you can look for. If there's something touching you and poking you, I would take that into account. It's not your cat, it's not your dog, or some creepy person around you. That's actually an important thing. Is it happening at a certain time of night only? That can be true too, but there could be a logical explanation. But what I mean by that is, are you waking up at 3 in the morning, 5 in the morning, and you're finding that door open and you live alone and you don't know how it got open, and you've gone through all of the logical explanation? So consistency is very important, is my point. And also, is there something about it that you just can't explain? Is your phone starting to dial people? Is your are things flying off of the shelves or just falling off and you've put them back? Is something appearing from one room to the next? These are like major things, and I'm saying this isn't something to be scared of. Sometimes there's just spirits, which I'll get into, are just messing with you because they can. But these are kind of actually more important than actually appearance and hearing something, which happens very rare, by the way, hearing something out loud and hearing footsteps and things like this. These are more common, but also can be misconstrued by an animal outside or something like that. So I kind of go for, like, is someone telling me, like, your pipes are exploding. You don't know why, but the same, you get a TV and it broke, and you put another TV in and it broke again. And you had an electrician out and there's nothing wrong with your electricity. Things like that. If it's energy, because it is a little bit more like Ghostbusters, where it's energy that's actually kind of creating a frequency in your space. And that brings me to what I want to explain about haunted houses. So what happens is that if someone is aware that they have died, then they want to get your attention, and they don't really care about breaking the rules, which is they can't interfere too much with the living, which is a little bit like Beetlejuice. And they can't totally mess with your life, and they don't care about that. Then their frequency, they're not going, I want to break this pipe, I want to break this electricity. They have a frequency, and their frequency gets too strong and too much, and it bursts things, because water's a frequency, electricity, of course, and things like that. And so that's what happens. It's not like I want to go, break your pipes and, mess up your electrical, appliances and things. It's their frequency. It's kind of like, imagine if someone's trying to yell at you, they don't have a voice, so their frequency gets a little swelled up and it messes with your things. Okay, that's one reason why this happens. That's why a lot of times I will often find that when someone's having these situations, I'll look and see where it's coming from. And most of the time, the spot that I sense is next to something like a utility box or things like that. The other thing is that, like I was saying before, is that the other spirits kind of know in the realms, hey, everybody goes to these same spots. They go to this spot, this house, this place, and they want to talk to us. And they kind of all go there and they mess with you. So it's not really the people that are connected to the spot. Maybe some of them, but most of the time it's a bunch of others that are thinking it's really funny that everybody wants to kind of experience a crazy ride. What I mean by that, it's like, well, they want something, we'll show them. So that's what mostly happens most of the time. People think that people are attached to places when they die. They are not. They are not. There's a vast, wide world they're in that goes beyond time and space. So whenever you're asking yourself questions about the other side, remind yourself, they are not in a physical body. They are not the same as they used to be. They're living in a new world, on Mars, in the ocean, however you want to look at it. And they don't need to adhere to the same ways we adhere to here. So I hope that was a little taste and introduction about how that realm works, but also about how haunted mansions and things. One of my favorite parts about the Haunted Mansion ride at Disney is how they say, oh, don't let the, ghosts follow you home. And I always love to see which one I had sitting right here next to me, if you know what I'm talking about. And you don't need to worry. They don't follow you home because why again? They don't need to follow people. It's kind of not a thing. What happens is you open yourself up to it and you start noticing things more. All right. I hope that all helped. I had to add that little end part. Welcome, come back at the end of the Haunted Mansion. I am announcing my class telepathically, how to communicate to spirits. I'm just reminding you of that. That's happening on the 13th. And I am still offering the code PEACE, 50% off my readings during this time. Follow yourself, follow no one, listen to your inner voice, and I'll see you soon.